and thanks for staying with us. Customs impound goods worth over ₦1 billion for smugglers operating along the nation's border. Also on customs reports, the newly appointed area controller in charge of Murtala Mohammed International Airport speaks on revenue drive by the command. Plus more report. I am Igiseme Idinye. Stay tuned. The Customs Federal Operation Unit Zone A has started to serve goods worth over ₦1 billion for smugglers operating along the Western Zone. The Customs Area Controller said that a total of 17 suspects were also arrested by its units within 1 month. The seized items include 18 assorted vehicles, 7 trailers of foreign rice, 2,619 cartons of frozen products, 1,005 jerry cans of vegetable oil, used tires and used clothes. The customs controller also detained vehicles include 1 Rolls-Royce, 1 Chrysler, other vehicles intercepted along Ijebu-Ode Expressway and Lekki axis.
Most of these seizures have been effected based on credible information and intelligence. Issue of no compliance. Changing a system, it has to be gradual. People are being educated, they are being informed. When they have inadequate information about how to make their declaration or about certain trade, some may, out of ignorance, engage in certain trades that are prohibited. But with the information and the explanation both from you and every member of the public who has knowledge of what custom operations are, will help us enlighten members of the public to be trade compliant so that appropriate government revenue, security, protection will also be applied and Nigeria will be protected and it will be a safe place for all of us. The pangolin and elephant tax, these are export prohibition. They are not allowed, they are product of endangered species. Wildlife animal classifies as endangered species and their products. A Chinese national was apprehended and he was detained in our cell. However, he was released on bail within the confines of the law. Both the Chinese national and these products will be handed over to Nesria for further investigation. In their country, for instance, this ivory tower, this elephant tax is also prohibited. It is illegal even in China. Like I told you, the scales, the blood, and the potassium, that is the one they burn, they are used for traditional medicine in China. So these wildlife animals and their products should not be allowed to go into extinction. For that reason, trade on such products are also illegal. The trading in such products is illegal as well. So for that reason, such goods were intercepted and seized, like I told you, and they are handed over to the appropriate authority. Vegetable oil is also banned. The reason is that this is a product that can be made here. We have the capacity to do that. However, the government in its mercy allows the importation of vegetable oil in crude form so that it will be further processed by our factory. Nigerians will get something to do, they will get employed. The smugglers or the economic saboteurs, what names they call themselves, that we will continue to trail them, we will never rest. Like I told you, the operative of the federal operations has been darkening their hopes and aspirations, and we have been frustrating their efforts in all fronts. It is for this reason, anytime you come here, you see various seizures made and detention. unless relevant documents are produced for the importation of whatever may be the nature of the goods before such goods are released. If they are absolutely prohibited, they are equally seized and forfeited to the federal government. We will continue to do this until the society is rid of these economic saboteurs and making sure that life and the property of all Nigerians are secured and safe.
Also, a 1 by 20 feet container number CA 1U0961053 was seized for false declaration. The unit also recovered 67 million naira from demand notice raised on goods intercepted by the service.
With what you entered and what is found inside the container, the goods are liable to forfeiture. And this is what happened exactly. Even if the goods are dutable, and you did it in such a way with a view to deceive the custom officer in an attempt to deprive federal government of its revenue, such goods are liable to forfeiture. You know very well that rice, importation of rice through the land border has been banned. And if you look at the consistency at which, or by monthly, at which we arrest bags of rice, if you look at the scale, it's coming down. If you look at the scale of rice being arrested, it's coming down because our operative, our anti-smuggling activity, our anti-smuggling activity has been darkening the hopes and the aspiration of the smugglers, and their efforts are being frustrated on all fronts. It is for this reason, if you look at the scale, but they are being arrested and prosecuted by the day. It is our belief, it is our hope, we will continue to trail them, we will continue to arrest them, we will continue to make sure that they are put out of business. We have to encourage and protect the federal government policy on local rice production. Based on credible intelligence and information, we trail the place, and a suspect has been arrested. To our surprise, these goods were also illegally imported by Chinese. Yes. According to the available information at our disposal, the other Chinese man is at large, but we arrested one Nigerian, who is the representative. The legal department of our unit is investigating the case. The most important thing is the goods are here. They are going to be forfeited to the federal government. Well, I still want to appeal to you. You continue to help us, partner with us, educate these members, and discourage people from fighting against constituted authority. Because we are constituted authority, we do not just wake up one day and we decide to say we are custom officers. No, we are appointed by the government and we have specific duty to do. Anything we do within the confines of the law. So it is surprising that mob individuals, hooligans, they will just be mobbing the customs. Our officers' lives are always on the line. However, that will not discourage us, it will not deter us. We will continue to find ills in this society.
The controller used the opportunity to warn importers of brand new vehicles to desist from smuggling the items through the unapproved routes into the country. You are watching the program Customs Report. The area controller in charge of Onne 2 of Nigerian Customs Service in Port Harcourt has been speaking on the way forward of the command. He commended the agents operating at the ports for doing a good job, saying that those with bad job will be arrested and their consignment intercepted by government.
The scanner we have in this port is not functioning, and this, of course, we have made it very clear. We have written to the CGC about it, and I'm very sure he is up and doing on it. He is very, very keen in seeing that we operate under the international best practices. It is very clear to everybody that there is no way you can achieve 100% objectivity in inspection of cargoes of the magnitude of containers without using the electronic system. So I'm very sure the headquarters is very much on top of this issue. One thing you have to understand, Nigerian Customs Service today, the Customs Service you know of today, has transcended 100 steps ahead of what it used to be before in terms of advancement. We are being fully automated now, and especially as we are going into NISIS 2, where the entire operation of customs will be automation. But so far from where we are, we can have advanced record of information. For instance, before a vessel arrives in Nigerian shores, the manifest of that vessel is being sent in advance. And the customs can go through the system and profile either the importer or the cargo with regards to tonnage, country of origin, importer's integrity, and so on and so forth. And through that, we can suspect. So far, so good with those three reform agendas of the current Controller General. In the sense that, number one, there is discipline in the system. When you have discipline, all other organs of administration come to being. I can tell you now, based on the powers given to me by the Customs and Excise Management Act, the Controller General or any of his management staff does not interfere or intervene in any aspect of operation I do here. And I make sure I don't overstep my bounds. Issues where I need the input of the management or the CGC, or where I need permission, I must write and seek that permission. Where I know the law has provided me to take decision, I take the decision without any recourse. This is part of the reorganization we are having. We are organized weekly training for our personnel, both rank and file. And we have also have training program for stakeholders, agents, the licensed customs license agents, the importers, and so on and so forth. It is an ongoing program that wherever I'm heading, it must kickstart. And that is exactly what we are doing here. The target for this command for the expected customs duty to be collected for 2018 is 117 billion from the headquarters. But by my own management here, under the Customs Area 2 Command on a port, I have made it very clear to all my officers and men that my target is 120 billion. It goes to mean that from the effort we are going to make, or we are supposed to make, to meet up with the CGC's target, everybody will now have to prove to me within reasonable that he cannot only surpass that of the CGC's target, he has to meet up with my own target. And with that, I believe it is a strategy. Now, when you look at, we are very much aware that in any developing economy, what matters is less import and more export. But since we are virtually an import-oriented economy, we shouldn't lose out. We shouldn't lose out the opportunity we must make sure we harness whatever resources in terms of behavioral attitude, professionalism, and what have you, to see that we have gotten the maximum collection we ought to have. And that is exactly the strategy we are adopting here. Because recently we have two teams. We have the Customs Police, which is an arm of the service that caters for the entire internal discipline of the Nigerian Customs personnel. And I can be bold to tell you, in this part of the country, my command is the first command that welcomed the team, because I'm a disciplinarian. I started as a school cadet way back in my secondary school. All through, I was a school cadet. And of course, I found myself in this organization, and I'm proud of it. So I feel without discipline, we cannot achieve anything. Now, I organize a general parade where I call the entire custom police team with their leader, and the leader addressed the parade and read the Riot Act to everybody as to the message by the headquarters, by the Controller General, what they are expected to do. Similarly, after the parade, I organized the sectional heads meeting where the same commandant of the zone in charge of the custom police also addressed all my sectional heads. So I'm very, very happy about that. Now, when you are talking about the compliance team that was working initially with us to help us in ensuring that the extant laws pertaining to import and export guidelines are adhered to, which has hitherto been replaced with the strike force, it is a welcome development. Don't forget, they are members of the Nigerian Customs Service, highly disciplined. The team leader, and especially the group leader that has been sent to this zone, we have made it very clear to all our stakeholders that they are here to help us from all the do's and don'ts we have been roaring up on them. That do it this way, don't do it that way. So to us, it is a kind of a boost to help us, to support us, to ensure that the needful has been done in accordance with the laid down regulation.
The Customs Area Controller in charge of Murtala Mohammed International Airport has said that the agent operating at the airport will continue to generate more revenue for the country. The newly appointed controller, who was on a working visit to some areas under her supervision, said that Customs will make sure that any revenue leakage will be blocked by the command. She speaks more on her visit.
I had a stakeholders meeting yesterday. That was the first stakeholders meeting I was having since my resumption of duty here in the command. The stakeholders meeting was very important for me to get to know the stakeholders and for them to get to know me as well, and also to know the mandates which I have, which is the mandate of the CGC for revenue collection. And in the meeting, I told them to make sure that every declaration was made on every airway bill had a declaration. And I wasn't ready to tolerate the issue of stealing of cargoes, which is predominant here. And if that was going on, it should be stopped. Every declaration must be made and duty paid. Appropriate duty must be paid on every consignment. I also told the terminal operators, because they are the collaborators as well when it comes to stealing of cargoes out of the warehouse. I don't see any reason why a terminal operator should release a consignment to an agent or to an importer without declaration and payment of duty. We interacted, we had a good interaction, and they also promised they were going to cooperate with me because I solicited for their cooperation as well, because a single person cannot make an island. I need them to be able to work. They also need the customs as well to be able to do their job. So we had a very good interaction. I had to go to DHL today. Yesterday I visited Sakol and Nako, but I specifically put today for DHL because the Senate Committee on Customs were here. I think they came here just 2 days after my resumption, and there were some faults discovered. They said they had some faults as far as DHL operation was concerned. So I had to make today just for DHL so I could sit down and talk to them and see how they've been operating, to make sure that, because the Senate Committee were of the opinion that revenue has been lost by DHL operation. And I had to find out from them, how do you operate as regards revenue for the customs? And they brought out their documents to prove to me that revenue is not being paid into an individual account. All revenue is being paid into customs accounts. And you were there and you heard how much DHL collects for the Federation every year. It's interesting. It's encouraging. And if there are any loopholes, I've already told them there, if there are any loopholes and unutilized airway bills caused from the negligence of the DHL operators, they will be held liable, and every duty that, or taxes, payments that should have been accrued to the federal government, DHL will have to pay for every duty loss. And they have agreed the same thing with those of Sakol and Nako Shed as well. They will be responsible. And I think with that, we'll be able to beef up our revenue. We're going to block all the loopholes. Like I told you, the predominant thing here is stealing of cargoes. Cargo's been taken out without declarations. I've been able to speak to my officers about that, and I've told them they have to be up and doing to make sure that we do not lose any revenue.
The Customs Area Controller at Semi-Border has continued to seize consignments that are coming into the country without approval. So the Nigerian Customs Service is ready to implement all laws as approved by the management of Nigerian Customs Service. He speaks more on the seizure made by his men.
We have an intelligence report about these trucks. So we didn't follow the border, main border. We took you to the road, the new road they opened, that's why he followed. So our officers were tracking him. The trailer took even one way. When he come to our checkpoint, he took one way. Our boy followed him off to the Badagry roundabout. Imagine roundabout Badagry, a trailer taking one way. We thank God it was around 2 a.m. There's not much crowd there. Otherwise, you hear a lot of stories. So on the process, we took Lagos Road. So our officers have to take the other line and block him, arrest the vehicle. We even arrest the man. On the process of coming back here to the warehouse, around road safety, before the bridge, road safety office, I don't know whatever he touched in the car, and the car just stopped. You see whether the clutch has gone, it's okay. It was around 2:30, no mechanic. He said he knew how to repair it. So in the process of repairing it, he took off. So before the crowd come, we have to secure the tomato. That's how we miss the defendant. The tomato is here up to now, nobody come for it. Nobody say he's the owner. This is 2,850 cartons. And you know it's not a small seizure. The last time you came, we have less than 5,000 bags of rice. So I can tell you now from January to date, as of now, we have about 8,000 plus. So you can see how every day we are making progress. We have a circular that if we see this type of flower, we should arrest it. We have just started. This is the sample. Well, I don't know how to analyze it, but they say it's not good for human consumption. I can see the very day they brought a bag, one bag, $4. If you see, like a cloud, dust. So I think those with asthma should not even come close to this type of flour.
Just before I round up this week edition of the program, Customs Report, we brought you a report where goods worth over 1 billion naira was intercepted by Nigerian Customs Service operating in the Western Zone. For me, Igeseme Etinye, thanks for watching.